What is going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking about a build that, hey, it still holds up today in 12.1. We are putting out about 14 million DPS, yes, in the range with all the buffs active. So to really, if you guys want to test this out for yourself, if you guys want to see 14 million damage in the range, well, the first thing you do is make sure you get one kill. The easiest way to do this is do this on one of the right targets or left targets. As soon as that happens, make sure you guys either proc in sync, so pop in the shields, or using a pulse, and then aim for the head on the main target right in front of you within those 25 meters, and that's going to give you the most amount of damage you can do with this build. But 14 million DPS is the most damage. As you guys see, it's pretty easy to clear heroic in this game. So if you're looking at something to clear heroic control points in solo or in group play, pretty easy. Even if you're in team play, you can use this build. Pretty much one of the staple builds for the Division 2. We are using a different weapon. We usually don't use this one. I actually started using it recently, and I kind of like it. It's still not my favorite, but I think it's actually pretty solid. You could probably run almost any AR with the same exact builds as you guys have seen in previous videos. So what we're going to do here, we'll break it down as we guys check out some more gameplay at the same time, and that way you guys can see the full build in action. But before we do want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor of this video, Advanced GG. If you guys don't know them, one of my favorite supplements to take is an energy drink right here, baby. This focused, this is what I like taking. Probably one of the better supplements for energy, especially if you don't like drinking coffee. All you do is take a scoop of this right here, then you dump it in here, right? And then once you're done, put the cap on it. I like putting a little bit of ice on this bad boy just to make sure it's nice and chilled. Just move it around, shake it a little bit, and then just sip it. And that's what we're gonna be sipping on throughout this video. Hopefully you guys are ready. Remember, Advanced GG, use skills at checkout if you guys want to get 10% off your order. So let's get into the video. Right off the bat, you guys can see we are running the Honey Badger. Yes, the Honey Badger. Assault rifle damage, health damage. We have 10% damage to targets out of cover. And then we have in sync, and that's what I was telling you with the shield to proc it. Or if you guys are out in the open world, you'll be running a skill such as maybe assault turret and let that just keep doing damage. And that'll allow you to really focus on the enemies themselves. You can use assault turret or use assault drone, whatever you guys want to use. You get 15% skill damage for 5 seconds every time you're hitting them with your weapon, and then you get 50% weapon damage every time your skill is hitting them. So that gives you about 30% weapon damage. Or if you use a skill for a short duration, so when you proc your shield, initially you'll have that 50% weapon damage. So either way, that's a total of 30% weapon damage extra on this build, and that's why you hit pretty solid. We do have 30% headshot damage on here because you do need to use an 8-time scope, and that, well, we'll talk about that in a second. We have the 20-round mag on here, minus a 10% reload speed, and then we have the 5% critical hit chance mod. Now this only has 3 mods, so you can't put a 4th one on the barrel, which usually gives you an additional 5% crit hit damage or crit hit chance, depending on what you need to max out that critical hit chance. For the secondary, run whatever you want, but usually we focus on the Honey Badger. I always have the Scorpio. If you guys haven't got one, recommend farming for it, trying to work for it. But yeah, it's definitely a good backup. But Honey Badger is really what's going to complement this build. So let's get into the build itself. We are running the Coyote Mask, right? This is going to give us that 15% weapon damage, 5.6% crit hit chance, 11.5% critical damage, and then we have a critical hit damage mod on here. This isn't my maxed out build character, so these stats aren't maxed out. But yeah, if you can get this as close to maxed out as possible, that'd be the best. Now, the reason why we're running the Coyote Mask is because, remember, between that 0 to 15 meters, we're gonna get that additional 25% critical damage, which we're almost maxed out on critical hit chance, so that's where we're gonna benefit the most out of this build. Now, the 15 to 25 meter, we still benefit because we get additional 10% crit hit damage and 10% hit critical hit chance, so it caps us out at crit hit chance and gives us that extra 10% critical damage. Now at 25 meter plus, that's where we actually lose some damage on this build. So anything that we fight 25 meters plus, we're actually not really gaining anything. We're losing crit hit damage. So probably running a different piece will be more beneficial. So just keep that in mind right there. For the chest, we're running a Fenris chest. We have 10% assault rifle damage. We have weapon damage on here. And then look, we have crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and then crit hit chance mod, and then we're running focused. If you didn't notice, I was scoped in, and that's why you have to use an 8-time scope or higher. So this is going to increase our total weapon damage by 5%, every second you're aiming in, up to 50%. So we can have actually an additional 15% weapon damage, which is pretty insane. And then you do have to use the 8x scope, so that's the one I was using. You can't use the higher one, but the 8x scope is probably going to be the better one to use. For the holster, we're running the Cheska holster. This gives us that 10% crit hit chance, allowing us to get closer to that 60% crit hit chance. Max, we have weapon damage, critical hit damage, and then 6% critical hit chance on here. For the knee pads, we are running the Foxbird knee pads, so that's going to give us that Overlord, which gives us 10% rifle damage. We're not taking advantage of that, so oh well. We have the weapon damage, damage to targets out of cover, which is multiplicative for all of you new players, and then we have critical damage on here. So yeah, that's standard. Most of you guys probably seen this a lot of the DPS build. And then another multiplicative, damage to armor, 8%. So we do have this on here. We have weapon damage, critical damage, and we're not taking advantage of that LMG damage. For the backpack, we have the Grupo Sombra backpack for that 15% critical hit damage. We have weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and then critical hit damage again. We have vigilance on here, so we have increased total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. So yeah, that is just something for you guys to keep in mind when we are doing these builds. A lot of times vigilance is your go-to for the DPS, because as long as we're using the shield, we're not taking any in damage. That extra 25% weapon damage on top of a focus 50% weapon damage on top of all the other buffs, it's just a lot of damage, and that's why we're able to push out 14 million DPS with the Honey Badger, which is pretty insane, and I definitely really like it. If we go over to the stats, right, we'll show you the skills in a second. We have 54% critical hit chance, so we're almost maxed out, right? That's why I told you the 15 to 25 meter is still going to benefit me because it's going to max me out crit chance, but anything after that, it's really not, because I'm going to lose out on 25% critical hit damage under 15 meters, right? 15 meters under, and then 10% critical hit damage. So once we start losing less that critical hit damage, it's better to probably run something else and just sit at 54% crit hit chance. So that's just something to keep in mind. But when you're in a group, it also helps out too. And if you're playing with other players, you can almost move out some of those crit hit chance pieces for crit hit damage or headshot damage. And that would actually benefit you, because that way you actually put out more damage and you're in a group setting. So that's just something to keep in mind. We have 105% headshot damage on this build, 8% armor damage, and then we do have that damage to targets out of cover, because we do have the 10% on the weapon and then 8% on the glove, so that 18% to targets to damage out of cover. 21% health damage, and that's from the ARs themselves. Reload time, everything else is pretty standard. And what I want to do is show you my skills just so you guys can see what we're running. So we are running a Crusader shield that allows us to use any assault rifle with it, so pretty standard. And then every time we do proc this initially, instinct procs, and then what we're using this is to really keep vigilance going, that extra 25% damage, right? And then you guys, like I told you, you could run the assault turret or you can run the striker drone, really up to you. This also procs in sync, so that's going to allow me to hit that much harder. And as you guys seen in this gameplay, pretty solid build. Still one of the better DPS builds, especially if you're running solo. You just want to melt stuff pretty quick. Once you learn how to play with this build, it becomes really easy to use. Maybe initially at first being scoped in is a little, but once you figure it out, I'm telling you guys are going to really enjoy it. But yeah, that right there is the build, guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this channel. If you guys want to see more builds, more spectating, more other content, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, hey, nothing but skills is out.